Hey guys, happy Seed Bead Saturday. How are you guys doing? I'm seeing so many wonderful friends in the chat. Hey, I see Zakaya and Roberta. Barbara's here. Maria, Sandy, Linda, and Carolyn's here. Debbie, hi guys. Thank you so much. Maria is here also. Caroline and Patty. Forgive me if I missed anyone or if I said your name twice. I see Kelly's there. It's scrolling fast now, so my brain can't keep up. Today's going to be super fun. I was inspired by the Shoreline Stroll Sam's Bead box. So in this box, there were a lot of really gorgeous ocean-inspired beads. And like the box says, it's like a walk down the beach. And so that instantly took me to macrame as far as like a good project idea. So that's what I've been doing. I've been doing tons and tons of macrame. It's a little bit crazy here. And it just kind of opened the floodgates for ideas. And now I'm on a macrame kick, so there might be more coming up. But today I thought I'd keep it simple and show a cool idea that looks like little bubbles. Now this idea has a couple spins. You can start it on a finding like I have here. And this is a finding that's included in the Shoreline Stroll Sam's Bead box. But you can also start without a finding. And starting without a finding, I'll show starting that at the end. We'll do the finding first because it's a little easier for a beginner. But it's not hard to start without a finding. And then you can just create with just beads and cord and get the same result using the same stitch. And you can bring those beautiful beads on in that way as well. And then as far as like putting beads onto the cords, you can use the same configuration that I'm going to show you for the bubbles. You can use that for different beads. Here's a really good example of just using the seed bead mix that comes with the box. So in this case, my holding cord has a bead on it every time I do a turn, and every single one of the knotting cords, except for one of them, graduates up with 2, 3, and then 4. And this will become something that makes sense when you see the construction generally. And then I also have one that was made of drops, and that's easier to see on the map. Let me try to hold it up a little bit more because the drops kind of dance around. But these beautiful drops that came in the box can also be replaced on the edge. In the bubble bracelet design, I just popped one little bead on there. But in the this one, I used 3 drops instead. And then I put the gemstones on there. And I'll get you the names of these gemstones. They're all in the description. I've linked the bead names for everything from the box that I've used. I've also put a link to shop the box extras. So if you want extra things from the box, or if you didn't get the box and you see something you love here and you want to find it, that link in the description will take you to shop on Sam's Bead Shop. But the names of the beads that I'm using and the sizes are 6 millimeter on this one, with a 3.5 millimeter English cut bead. And these are glass beads there. The gemstone that you're seeing on this one and on this one, that gorgeous gemstone, that one. And again, this is all in the description, but it is one of the Amazonite smooth rounds. It's about 6 to 6.5 millimeters. And you get like a whole strand in the box. It's really beautiful. And so that's what I used there. The drops are also glass. The seed beads are size 8/0. And last but not least, one other beads that I used, very handy for the ends of your cord, are these tube barrels, aqua and honey. So those are things I grabbed. There are a lot of other options in this box that you can choose from, just really go crazy and create something wonderful. So why don't I go ahead and switch my camera now and show you a little closer details about stuff. And I'm just going to switch really quick. All right. So what you're seeing here is my main feature, which is the bubble bracelet. And the bubble bracelets can be done on findings or, you know, again, started with just cord. And so what I thought we'd do to kick off the tutorial is I would grab a finding. And I have one of these left. If you don't have this finding already, or when I last checked, I believe there was still some available in box extras. If you're having trouble finding it, I looked on the website and I saw something else very, very cool. believe this was actually focused in a holiday box in the antique brass color. I only have silver and copper here, but you can use these twist rings to create the same look. So there's the twist ring there, starting out. And I believe I popped a link to these also. Oh, and I forgot to mention, everything I'm going to show you today, I did create a quick little summary document. And you can find that on my website, danielleworksjewelry.com. Click on patterns and tutorials. It's the macrame tutorials, the first one today that you'll see. And it summarizes everything, has links to the video and links to shop on Sam's website for all of these components and pieces and everything. So the cord, let's talk about cord for just 1 second. So in this kind of nylon cord, Tex 210 is the most common. You'll find Tex 210 is really good for standard drill. So both standard drill Czech glass beads and for the, like, for example, amazonite rounds. So this was a really great size to fit these. So if you're working with, there's a link to this on Sam's website that you can get, and it has 3 colors. So I was thinking for our initial demo, I might like do all 3 colors so you can see. It might just slightly help with the visualizing what's happening. So we'll do that together with 3 colors, but I did work with the gray for most of my samples, with the exception of this one, which I did on the black, which actually honestly has the coolest look. If you're thinking about Halloween already, like me, oh my goodness, this one, it's like, it kind of to me looks like an Elvira bracelet. And I could picture it as a choker too. Could you just see it as like a total, all the way around the neck, like Halloween style choker? You could put little red beads, or I mean anything. So keep in mind these kind of ideas work with lots of different styles. So we're at the ocean today, but we could be at a Halloween party or costume. The same technique. All right, so let's start on the finding first. And I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to show you 2 different finishing methods. So I've got these ready for that. I'm going to put them over here for just a minute. Remind me they're to my left when I can't find them later. And let's start by cutting 3 cords that are about 30 to 35 inches. And again, this is the finding start method. There are different measurements for starting, which is cord, that I'll get to and that are in the description. But this is for the finding start. And you can use like whichever side you want. I think I was defaulting to having it be like that in all of the ones I was making. So 30 inches for each one. I'm just going to grab a tape measure. And we'll start with the gray. And 30, 31, 32. If you'd like it to be more than 7 inches of beadwork, then you may want to go closer to the 35 inches cut. If you're okay with like a 6.5 bracelet, then closer to 30 inches is going to work. So there's that one. Let's do the same thing with this one. And I think I did 31 with that. So let's do 31 there. And I think I'll use this one to cut my next one. Okay. And I've been using this one the most for some reason. I'm not sure why, but probably because it's just very easy to see. All right, so now we've got our 3 strands. And again, each of these for me are about 31 inches long, which is a good measure there. And I did 3 different colors just so you can see what I'm doing, but I did work with only gray on the samples that I made. All right, so let's start with one of the cords and bring each of the ends of that cord together and just hold them like that. If you have a finding that has a front and a back, put the front side facing you and go ahead and bring those cords from behind the finding and up through the loop. And pull that all the way through until you have a little loop about that big. Then reach through that loop and grab that cord. and pull it through. And what that'll do is it'll put a little lark's knot. Now, if you like the hat of the lark's knot on the front of your design, then this is the way to do that. If you prefer to have the little hat part, let me show you 2 examples so you know what I mean. So on this design, I have the hats in the front. So there's 1, 2, and 3. But on this one, I put the hats in the back. So you can see the hats are behind it. So this is the reverse side of the design. On this design, the reverse side and the front side, they're not strikingly different. So really, you could say it's reversible if you wanted to. But that's just something to think about. In the end, it doesn't actually really matter. So whichever you like is going to work fine. But I've been kind of defaulting to the hats facing forward. So there's number 1. Let's get number 2. This is our gray cord. And I'm going to bring this up through here. Give me a shout if I go off camera, because I set up my camera slightly different today, so I'm a little unused to it motor-wise. But there's a another connection there. 2. Yeah, Carolyn, it does like a wave. I was going to call it bubbles, and Amanda, yes, absolutely. In fact, it's kind of mostly the same stuff, I would say. Anything text 210, and really, honestly, anything that fits your beads. So test it, see if your beads fit. If your beads fit, you can use it. Here's my last cord. Again, I'm going to bring it 2 ends together and feed that from the back to the front, or vice versa if you want those hats in the back. But whichever side you bring the cords from, the hats are going to sit to the opposite. So if you come from the back, the hats will be in the front. And if you come from the front to the back, then those hats are going to be at the back. So just tighten everything up really well. And so this is a pretty small finding. And getting those to sit right next to each other isn't too hard. On a larger finding, if you're working with like a ring, then at this next step, you might want to push them together, closer together. Let me see if that, you just want to keep them next to each other. Okay, so I've got a scrap piece of cord here, and I'm just going to feed it through the top of the ring here. Bring the ends to meet. Doesn't really matter where. Tie an overhand knot. And we'll go ahead and we'll clip this underneath our clipboard. If you're using like the tying station, for example, or another kind of macrame board, secure it in whichever way your board or your work surface works for you. You can just get that knot under that clip. And I could have done that a little closer. That would have been better, but yeah, it works. All right, and so there's that. And then what you're going to want to do to get started is I have some binder clips, and you'll need about 3 of them. I've got some just a random little assortment of clips here. Hey guys, hi to everybody joining. We're just getting started. So we secured 3 cords that were 30 inches, 31 inches long. We secured them at their midpoints via a lark's knot to this beautiful Nautilus finding. And now we're ready to start the macrame. So to get started, we're going to identify what's going to be the filler cord, also known as the holding cord. And it actually doesn't matter if you start from right or left. Just pick a side. And I'm probably going to start from my left, because I think that's what I wrote up in the tutorial. So I'm going to select out the leftmost cord, and then I'm also going to select out the one right after it. So for us, that's these 2 cords to the left. For all these others, these 4 here, I'm going to clip them to the bottom of my work surface just to keep it tight. All right, and let's zone in just a little bit here. There we go. Okay. So with this other cord here, this is the leftmost cord. And we'll cross over and just bring it over just to kind of like at a diagonal. And this is really just to your eye. I tend to just eyeball it. But if you have like a certain goal of like a certain degree of measurement, you can measure that out. I just wasn't sure how to do that. So I usually just use my eyes. And so I'm going to secure that to this side of the board using another clip. So far we have that. This is the second leftmost cord. It's the one that was one in from the one I just pulled over. And I'm going to take this cord and bring it over this one, under it, and then just pull that through. And when you do that, it brings this little loop to sit right next on that cord. Repeat that again. Bring it over and then bring it underneath and pull that through. And now you've got your first double half hitch knot sitting right there. And then for some stability, what I'd like to do is take this end here and go ahead and clip it to the edge. So now we've got this. Unclip your bottom cords. Now that you've got this one here and here, it tends to hold it steady, so you can let these be loose now if you want. If it's easier for you, you can isolate out each and clip it every time. I kind of oscillate between doing both. So we're going to work with the next cord in to the left. Oh, thank you, Liz. Yeah, I couldn't do that math in my head. And so I'm going to go ahead and pin this to the bottom, which again is optional. It's just if you feel like it helps you. Mostly just keeps them out of the way. So this is the next cord in from the left. And let me bring this down so you can see a little bit more. Okay. So same thing. Currently, this cord is passing underneath the filler cord, which is running on top of all those cords. And we're going to bring it, the knotting cord, over and then go underneath it. And when you pull it, make sure it's passing over itself on the way out. And then just tighten that down. Again, you're going to go over, under, tighten that down. And you can just throw this one up here to the side. Free the next one. Clip it back if you want to for those other two. Same thing here. We're going to go over and then under and pull. And then over and under and pull tightly. And we're going to start with the one that's the next in from the left. Bring it over, under the cord, and pull. And then over, under, and pull. All right, so far we have our little diagonal starting. And so the addition of beads from here on out is totally optional. You can add them or you can skip adding them. It's all going to work regardless. So if you like the look of not having a bead, you can totally start without a bead and it will look fine. But what I've been doing is grabbing a little bead. So in this case, this is a 3.5 millimeter English cut from the Shoreline Stroll box. And this is the last cord here that I have that is unknotted. I'm just going to cut it at an angle just to make it easier to feed it through. If you have any like a, what's it called? Like Insta Needle, or even just a little bit of nail polish or glue. You can always use that. But I have been working without it. It's been working for me. And we don't have that many to feed on, so it's not like it's going to get frayed very much. So string on that bead, and just like that. Help it go underneath the filler cord, holding cord. And then repeat that double half hitch knot process. So we'll go over and under and pull that tightly. Not too tightly. You don't want to make it flip. And sometimes it'll move on you like that. You see how mine's moving a little bit? It's actually okay. So when you tighten the next one, it goes ahead and tightens the one before it pretty well. So you'll end up with that to start. And when you're working with all one color, it looks more cohesive, but this actually looks pretty cool too. So far we've just done the top part of the design, which is this part. We got that last little bead on. Now we're going to add a big bead. And again, this is optional. Here's what it looks like if you don't add a bead on the holding cord. It'll just make a turn like that. So on this design, there's only beads on the edge here. On this design, we've got a bead on the holding cord. And then on the drop one, I'm going to be putting a bead on the holding cord, and I used a seed bead instead of a Druk there. On this one, I was adding seed beads. This one's a little more complicated. I was adding seed beads as I went, but I would start with this one because the seed beads was actually more involved with like feeding them on there and stuff. All right, so unsecure everything from your board for this next step. And then just go ahead and bring these down. You have this gorgeous little design happen in here. It's really pretty. So our holding cord is going to stay the same. So our filler cord, it's the same cord the whole way. It's going to be this one. And this time we're going to pass it to the right. It's going to go over every cord, over all of them. So what I usually do first at this step is I'll secure every cord except for the next one in. So if you look here, this is the holding cord, passing over everything here. The next one in is this first white cord. It's the next one in from the right. Go ahead and just isolate it out for now. Just throw it up there. Head to the bottom, and just for now, clip all of these guys here. And then back up to the top. Make sure that this filler cord is still passing over this white one and all the others. Secure it here to the right. And this is where you get to decide the angles. So if you like this angle like that, and secure it in that position to your board. And let's start with this cord to knot. Oh, and I forgot to add the bead. So forgive me for that. This one is the 6mm Druk beads in that gorgeous sea glass. It comes in 3 colors. I'm going to show you one that's still on the strand because I've broken my strand for the others. It looks like this. Isn't that beautiful? I snagged one of these in the Box Extras live sales, so I'm really glad I did because it's ended up being my favorite. Need to add it before I secure this one. So let me just trim this edge. And just feed that through. There we go. I noticed that the black cord is like a little less strong. Let me switch colors really quick. And I might actually use another trick to get this through if this one doesn't work. There we go. Most of them work. I think that was just a tight bead. All right, so get that on there. Like that. And then again, just achieve that angle. So passing over all these cords, I think I like it to be just about like that. I'll clip that one. Okay, so back to this one we left loose. Oop, that flipped on me. And I might have made that a little tighter than I wanted. Let's pull it down. Let me get this perfect. Hang on. Yeah, right about there, I think is going to work. Okay. And let's tighten these again. Just clipping those at the bottom so they're a little tighter because stuff got loose. All right, so this is the next cord in. Make sure it's sitting in front of your bead. Let me show you up close really quick. I'm going to make sure it's passing in front of the bead here. It's still under the filler cord. And then just bring it up and over like that, forming a loop. And feed it under. Grab that end and pull it tightly. Not too tight, just, gentle tug there. And repeat that. Over, under, and tighten. So there, that works. And then just go ahead and clip this one to the side. I do this at the end of the first knotting cord because what it does is it creates tension in both directions and keeps everything nice and flowy. I'm going to unclip from the bottom here and free my next cord. And then optionally, you can reclip those others that you're not using and make another knot. So here's over, under, and tighten. And then over and under and tighten. And let me know if I missed any questions, guys. I'll go through at the end. And I have Colleen here in the chat helping me, and she will tell me if I missed any. And then she's also been popping them up on the screen. So feel free to ask questions. I know I'm going a little speedy, but I want to show you so much, so I'm all excited. And so here's our next cord in. So this is the same process we were doing above, but we're just working it now in the opposite direction. So we're bringing each cord that's the next one in. In this case, it's from the right. And tying a double half hitch knot onto the filler cord. It's going to look really neat with these three colors. Very interesting look. All right, so there we're to our last one. And with the last one, I've been loving putting on these little English cuts. Those are the, let me see if I have one unopened. So I want you to be able to see how pretty. You get a lot of them in the box, but there's them on the strand. These have been like the powerhouse of all my designs because they're kind of the perfect fit. So I'm loosening up this last knotting cord. It's still passing under, right? It's under this one. String on this bead. And if you need to trim it, just trim it at an angle so you get a point. That really helps feed them through. Pass it underneath that holding cord and then just let it float. Because in this design, the bead just floats around and it's like a little fidget piece. And so again, this cord is still under, right? I'm going to go over and then under it. And when you pull it through, it's going to pull kind of over itself as it goes. Tighten there. And there's some magic to the tension here, getting it to be in an arc shape. But it's actually really forgiving in the way that it works out. You end up getting that pretty arc pretty easily. Actually wasn't too tough to do. And so from here, just unsecure your board, everything free. And oh, the flush cutters I'm using are a Lindstrom flush cutter. It's meant for cutting copper wire. I also find that it is really great for cutting all kinds of cords. I use it for leather. I'm pretty much this tool. I couldn't live without this tool. It's my thing, my go-to thing for like everything. So let's see, we're at the 29-minute mark and I still have lots I want to show you, but would you guys like to see one more repeat, the part that of creating it to the left again? Oh, thanks, Lorena. And so the stitch is actually, yeah, and Fun Monica, that's right, they're half hitch knots. They're double half hitch knots. And I've just been repeating them. Let's do one more. And I'll label the knots as we go. So for the next part, you just want to isolate out the 2 cords from the left, because keep in mind, we're going to move to the left now. Just keep changing direction. I've secured these others to the bottom of my board. And then I'm going to take the one that's furthest to the left here and bring it over everything, over all of these cords in a diagonal. And then just go ahead and clip that to the side of your board. And oh, I forgot to add the bead. So it's optional here if you want. If you didn't add a bead and you started doing your double half hitch knots, you would get this look. It would look just like that. But when you add a beautiful bead there, it looks really cool. So let's go ahead and unclip that. I'll reclip it and put our bead on. And there's that diagonal again. And again, it's really forgiving as far as getting that angle right. Just have it look good to your eye. Right about like that. This is the next cord in from the left. Making sure that it stays in front of the bead. And go over and under. And then over. So you're just basically making a loop over that cord. And bringing that knot to sit right there. Let's do that one more time. Over, under, and over. And there we go. And then I like to clip this one to the side after I start that first knot, because that makes it stay tight for the next step. So it just really helps out the design. I'm going to free the next one. And then I just out of habit have been clipping these to the bottom here. Over it, right? Going over, under, and then just pull. And over, under, and pull tightly. I pull tighter on the second part of the double half hitch knot than the first. The first one pretty gentle with it, because you don't want to warp your nice little diagonal and everything you've got going there. I'm going to free this next cord and then bring it over, under, and over itself. See that right there? Pretty gentle. Here's the second double half hitch, second part of the double half hitch. It's called double because you basically just do the half hitch knot twice. And here's our next one. So this is the second to last cord there. Over, under, and pull. Over, under, and pull. Okay, here's where we need to add another one of these really cute English cut beads. I'm better at remembering to add the outers than to add it to the holding. I keep skipping that for some reason. Bring that on. Make sure it goes above the, you want to slide it along this cord so that it's sitting north of your filler cord, but your cord's still passing underneath. And then just go over, under, and pull that through. And then here again, over, under, and pull that. All right, removing those clips. And that is basically how to do those kind of knots. So let's see. Yeah, it's very simple. It's basically the same thing. You just repeat the same thing over and over and over again, and you get a really cool result. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to switch to one that I have worked ahead so I can show you how to finish it. And it's looking really great on time, so I feel like I'll be able to show you the other start, the non-finding start too. And that's my goal anyway. I'm hoping to get there. All right, and so forgive me that this one's on a different finding, but I had 4 of these beautiful shells and I got excited and used them all. So again, this finding that I'm showing here is called a twist ring, and it's 11.5, and it's going to work the same way that the other finding worked. Lots of different ways you can finish that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and secure it under my board here. I just secured that right here at the top. It's the same. It's got a spare scrap of thread with a knot. Same thing we did on the shell. And just securing it under my clipboard. You can use the tying station same way. And I've made a lot more repeats on that. Oh, thanks, Lori. And so on this one, I'm going to repeat one more repeat of what we've been doing. I wanted to share a pattern idea. So what I was doing with this gorgeous strand of beads, there's 3 colors on here. There's a golden amber, cobalt, and a milky periwinkle looking color. Looks like sky. And I alternated them. I ended up putting them kind of just in a repeating order like that. So my next one here is going to be a milky. I've got a spare one of those. Actually, I'm going to need to cut my new strand if I want to repeat my pattern. No. Let's see. Let's do that over here. And got one. Okay, so I'm going to remember this time to actually put the bead on the holding cord before I secure it. So this is the holding cord, and you can tell because it's the one, when you hear it called filler cord, it's very helpful because you can see it coming out from the knots. So it's your filler cord. Yeah, it looks like sea glass, Linda. It is so pretty. And I'm going to string this through just like that. And secure these. For now, I'm just going to secure all of these cords to the bottom of my clipboard. And then I'm going to bring this one over in a diagonal and secure it to the side. Okay. And then working with this first one here. Just reclipping that to the bottom. And we'll go over, under, over. I'm going to go a little fast for this part, just so you can see one more time. Worked with solid color cords. And you can see my threads are getting really short. Not super short, but you need them to be long enough to go off the edge of your board or your work surface. So that's one of the reasons for all that extra length at the beginning. You end up trimming a lot, but you need it for these steps. Here's the next one. And there's 1, 2. I'll skip the securing it step for now. Go over, under. There's 1. I'm having trouble pinching the ends so they get short. There we go. Okay, there's that side. Here's this one. And the next one. Okay, I need one last one of the English cut beads. Bring that on, bring that under, over, and through. So yeah, really glad I worked with the different colors because I feel like it'd be harder to tell overlapping with just a single color. But there you go. So there's one more. So let's finish this one. This one's a good length. Quick note about length. Depending on which method you're using to finish it, if you're on the finding, there's 2 ways. One way is to go to one of these square knot adjustables, and I'm going to show you how to bring this down. And the other method is a little more complicated, but we'll breeze through it. If you know what a lark's knot is with a single cord, I'll show you how to do that here to create a loop. And this could also become a button loop. I used it to attach a chain because I wanted to put a lobster claw on the top of my Nautilus shell. So for this one, I did that to make it adjustable and everything. But honestly, you can do so many things. So that's just one idea. One thing I wanted to share also, when I show you how to start on just cords, there are so many things that can become a button. And I happen to have these tiger's eye nuggets. I just found them in my stash, so apologies, they aren't listed anywhere on my descriptions, but I just wanted to show that something like this can become a button. And so if I wanted to end one of these designs, for example, like that, I could make a loop like this. And it all starts the same way. And it looks like this. So you end up with this end. And so the step I'm going to show you now is the same way to do regardless of which finishing method. This is just the way to bring another cord over here so that you have two holding cords. Yeah, Lori, I love the loop too. The loop is like a little more advanced, but not too much, not too much. And I think when you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I get that. It makes a lot of sense. So here, whichever side you ended on. So in my case, I ended heading to the left, right? This is that holding cord. I'm going to just set it aside. We're going to work with these now, these 5 cords. This one here on the far right is going to become a new filler cord. And these are going to become knotting cords, these 4 right here. So let me just clip those to the bottom. And then we'll bring this holding cord over. And if you want, you can clip both of these to the side. So you have something that looks like this right now. Free the next one in, which for us is going to be this one right here. And then I do like to reclip it on this first one because there's nothing holding it stationary yet. There will be after we do this first knot, but go ahead and reclip to the bottom these 3 cords. And so we're going to take this one and do a double half hitch knot. So in this case, you want to just go over the 1 cord. So ignore this other holding cord here for now. Just go over the one we just created. And you see how the knot's settling right here? Repeat that one more time. And let's grab another one. Let's loop this around. Here's the next one. So this is just the same thing, the double half hitch knot on the new holding cord. Loop that over. Oops. When they get short, it's a little trickier, but it's possible. It's the last one. And I could have done a little tighter job with that. Let me show you one where I did a little tighter. You know what I didn't do is I didn't secure my first one over. I think when you do that, when you secure that first one over, it actually helps you get this tighter. But on some of my other ones, let me show you this one. It's already ahead of that step. So see how much tighter I got that one? I don't know. It just, sometimes I land it, sometimes I don't. But so there's that one. And what we're going to do next is just remove everything from your board for now. Let's set this aside. So you've got these 2 holding cords. Those are going to become part of whichever closure option you end up doing. These 4, we just want to get rid of these now. So this part we get to play with fire. Yeah, Kelly, you can totally do that. Kelly's asking if it's possible to do a macrame loop to close it. Yeah, you can. There are so many methods. I had a really hard time narrowing down like which ones. So what I did is I went ahead and narrowed down on ones that I thought were more unusual, that I don't see a lot of content for. So this could be something different for you, you know. But I just trimmed those. And now I'm going to use a lighter, and I'm going to go ahead and just burn those ends. And so be careful, make sure you know, ventilation, all that good stuff. and just burn those down. Sometimes I like to use the edge of the lighter to just kind of flatten it. And now you've got these beautiful ends. So from here, what you can do, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut this free. Couple of options here. And maybe I'll show you, let's think about this. So I could show you on the finding since we have the finding on the other one, but there's one end complete. And here's the one on the finding. Same thing was done here. You can take this and you can trim it to kind of be the same length and grab any bead you want and have it be the decorative end. So let's grab, I really, really like using these. I feel like this is a really good pull for the end of a knotted cord. So let's grab one of those. And I'm just going to make sure this end is trimmed in a way that I can get something on it. They're actually really generous hole diameter. So if you're using a Tex 210 cord, this bead right here fits real nice. Like you can just get it right over there. So we'll just slide that on, just getting it out of the way. And then at some point near the end, just do an overhand knot. And when I do an overhand knot, I'm going to go through it once. See how we just, let me start over. Sorry, guys. Okay, so crossing it like that, bringing the tail through the loop. So there's your standard overhand knot. And then if you want to, you could bring those tails through the loop one more time. You don't have to do this, but it makes the knot thicker. So now when I pull it, you end up this really thick knot. It just, with a large hole bead like that, I thought it was handy. There we go. I'm going to trim that at an angle or even just flat. Oh, and if you pull one cord at a time, it tightens it even more. So right about there like that. And then you guessed it, we get to center that down a little. Okay, that's one side done. Super simple. For this top side, I'm going to grab another cord. I pre-cut this one to 8 inches. And these dimensions are in the handout for you guys. So 8 inches here. And then I'm going to go ahead and, in this case, my front has the lark's knots, hats to the back. So I want to feed it from front to back. And then just bring those cords and tails up through. So now I have a matched connection there. If you're working on the shell finding, it's the same thing. Just there on the top of your shell finding, you want to add another loop. But I'm going to use this one to show you the how to do the lobster claw version. So in this case, you just want to do the same thing. Feed on another one of these beautifuls. It doesn't actually matter what colors, whichever one you like. And then this quick overhand knot here. And pull one, pull two. And we'll just trim that. Burn it. Okay. All right. So check this out. Isn't that pretty? You get this gorgeous little result here. And so all you need to do from here, so it's so cute on, it really is. At this point, if you were going to photograph it, quick little, for people who like to post on Insta and stuff like I do, if photographs really nicely like this, once you pull it into the circular shape, it's harder to photograph it. So if you want to get a shot of your work, do it now, and then come back for finishing it. Bring each of these cords across each other like that. Just set that like that. I need a new cord that's about 8 inches long. And this can really just be an eyeball measurement. It's not needing to be super precise. Bring that cord under all 4 of those strands. And we're going to do a real quick square knot recap. Square knots are where you take a cord like this to the midpoint. Let me make sure yeah, okay. And then you want to cross one side over, hold it like that, bring the other side to pass over it, and you go under, up, and through. So there's one side, and you'll get a little hat on that side. Bring this one over. Then this side goes over it, under everything, and then up through that loop. Make a bunch like that. Standard square knot. I think I did a total of 6 square knots. So there's 3. Here's 4. Here's 5. Over. Under and up. And if you lose count, you can always count your little hats. There's 1, 2. Let's do one more. And I'm switching the direction of those loops every time, so you don't get if you don't switch direction, you'll get a little spin, but it'll all still work. So yeah, roughly like 6 knots there. Trim those ends. You could do 8 too. If you feel like 8 would be more secure, go for that. And then just really quickly, you want to be pretty gentle with this. You don't burn the filler cord. You don't want the filler cord to be burnt because it turns it into glue basically. All right. And then you can tighten your beautiful bracelet on. And there's your gorgeous design. So that's option 1. If you want to use a finding, you want to put a lobster claw, toggle, whatever you want. Put that on this side. And then to create a loop at the other end, it's actually really easy. So just take the 2 cords and bring them around your fingers like this. However big you make this loop, that's how big your loop's going to be. And so these cords are passing over themselves like that. And pinch that in your hands. Okay, you take one of the cords, and it doesn't matter which one, and just bring it up a little bit like this. So we've crossed over, and I'm just holding everything like this. And the cool thing about the knot I'm going to show you is it's slidable, so it gets tighter, easier. And then you take this other cord, and you want to bring it underneath everything. So see how it's going under? Then go over through that loop and bring it up. So this is a lark's knot, just your basic lark's knot. Hold everything tightly so it doesn't get loose on you. So this one is going to go now under and through the loop, and then go through that loop. First one's always trickiest, but once you get the first one tightened, the rest of it should stay put for you. And then when we go all the way back around, connect it. And sorry, this little loop just didn't make it over the top. There we go. So now I got to repeat that again. So I'm going to bring this over through the loop. And then if you just kind of reach through the loop and hold it, you get the first part of that lark's knot. And for the second part, you go under and pull up a loop over and through. So you get this little loop, see? And to tighten, I can pull on these strands if I need to a little bit, or loosen them. I want them to be about the same, so keeping them the same. Okay, so at this point, you can keep going over this cord until you feel like you've done that maybe 4 times and then trim it. But here we're going to go over, grab the tail and pull, and then under. I made this loop really big, guys. Sorry about that. My other one was a lot smaller, but it's becoming a buttonhole basically. So over, through the loop, under, pull through, up through the loop. So you see what's happening is we're getting these little slidable lark's knots. Aren't they pretty? And they're just going to go all the way around. And I might be able to do that really quick so you can see me finishing it. I wish I'd made the loop a little smaller. It'll take me a little longer, but there we go. And so at this point, I might trim that extra cord. And then we'll go over, under, and up. And make sure I catch that. There we go. And then under, over. Okay, and so that other little cord has been completely covered up. So we just got to continue going around. So over, and that. I'm going to go a little faster so you can see. I want to show you how to end this little cord. It's basically you just burn it, but just keep going. Making pretty little hats. So I do kind of reach through the loop. That's a shorthand way to do it. I think it's easier to just hold it like this than to pin it to anything. Let's see, let's get these to slide a little bit. I'm going a little quick, so it's a little messy looking, but just so you can see it. This is where all that extra cord really, really, really helps. And yeah, I made this loop huge, guys, so apologies. It's a little better if you make it smaller. It goes a lot faster. But now you get to see how to make a button loop. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I was going off camera there. But yeah, this is going to take me a minute to finish it. I don't want you guys to have to wait, but you basically just bring it. I should have made this smaller. You bring it all the way around over to here. And when you get over here, just make your last knot. And then just trim it. And I usually do this from the back. Just burn it at the back. And how that looks when you finish it. Let me find the other sample. As you can see where I just burned it there at the back. And on this one, I brought it down and then just looped around. And then I brought on a jump ring. And that's pretty much it. So that's one way you can do an end. Now, if how are we doing on time? Oh, Karen says it's an upside down blanket stitch. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, the ring is kind of neat. And I apologize. It's a little more advanced, but honestly, the easiest way is just to do the square knot thing. And the square knot thing is really pretty with and without a finding. So really quickly, if you guys want, I'll show you starting it without a finding. It's super easy to do. It has a little bit different measurements, because keep in mind when you have a finding and you're starting on the finding, you need a little extra length because you're working from a midpoint. But when I made this one, I actually started by cutting 6 strands that were about 20 to 25 inches. So 20 being on the shorter side, 25 being to go over a 7-inch bracelet. So you want to cut 6 strands like that. And then you tie them into, let me just show real quick, actually. We'll use this gray thread. And I won't go full length. We'll just go 1, 2. Maybe I'll make this just kind of a little decor one. There's 3, 4, 5, and 6. little trim here, cut my loops. Okay, so pretend these are about 25 inches long. I don't really know how long I made them, but roughly, if you want to do a full length bracelet, you'll need about that much. And then just kind of make these ends kind of match each other. Roughly, it doesn't have to be perfect. Measure about 4 inches, 4 or 5 inches from this end. This length that you're measuring here is going to become one side of this, right? So whatever you leave up here, you need to decide now how long you'd like that to be. And whatever that length is for you, go ahead and tie it a gentle overhand knot, but make sure it's one that you can get loose. And one really easy way to make sure you can get it loose is go ahead and bring all these strands through. Sorry about that. Actually kind of tricky to get those through. It's easier to push them like that. Make sure they all made it. This one did not. There we go. Okay. So there's our overhand knot, and it's got all 6 strands. And I worked it about 4 inches from the ends here. You can do 4 or 5 inches longer if you'd like. And right here, before you tighten this knot, if you want to, you can grab like a scrap cord and just stick it through. This will help you loosen the knot later. So just go ahead and tighten that down. And then later when you want to undo the knot, you can take these little ends that you created and use it, if you hold it like this, to help you loosen your knot up, right? For now, you guessed it, we're just going to clip that knot under a clipboard. And so we can start our knot. So from here, you'd start the project just like we did. You'd start by identifying a filler cord, and it would cross over all the others. Start doing all those knots. Finish the end, just like we did on these other samples. But then when you get that all done, for example, you've got a bead on the end, everything's good. On the top side, what you'll have is it'll just look like that. When you take it off, it'll just look like this by itself. So you just flip it around, secure your bottom side to the top, and repeat that action where we brought the other cord over and did those knots. So you could have a symmetrical little, each one meeting itself on the other side. Hopefully that makes sense. I am going over the hour here, but no, Kelly, it's not 25 inches because I'm doubling it. It's 25 inches because I'm leaving 5 inches of it above here. I probably didn't actually do the full 5 inches here. It doesn't look right, but you're leaving a bunch here. So now you're subtracting out a very large length that's going to become, you're basically going to do the same thing that brings it down to 2 cords, right? So at least 2 of these cords need to have a length that can overlap itself. So we can do something like that. So that's where some of that length gets consumed. The rest of that length gets startlingly quickly consumed in the knots. So as you're going through this whole process of knotting, it'll really consume a lot of what's left of that. And if you started with, for example, 20 inches or so, left 5 up here, you're consuming that 15 inches at about the same rate as we were on the finding sample, which started with about 30 inches, which we worked from the midpoint, which left us 15 inches kind of hanging, right? So you're still kind of working with anywhere from 15 to 20 inches here in the working area. And then you end leaving at least 4 or 5 inches at the end to become the other side of that cord. So hopefully that makes sense. I wish I had more time to demo it. So basically you just start going, right? And then when you take this off the board, you'll have the same kind of ending that we did at the bottom of the other designs that you just create, just like that. Kind of straighten them out. There you go. So that's pretty much it. Let me bring my face cam back and let me scroll for questions because I feel like I missed a bunch of questions, guys. I'm so sorry. I was getting so thick in the thick of it there. This was kind of a serious one, right? Here we go. There's me back. Sorry about the cameras. So yeah, this is really easy to do. I think the most beginner-friendly way is to start on a finding and just make that extra little cord at the end. And then you just put it on. Really easy to put on. Easy to tighten from both sides. And there's your gorgeous little design. I made my little ends pretty long there. And then when you've got the cute little finding on it, you get some such cute asymmetry. Let me find the finished one. I moved it, guys. Well, here's another example of one that's like, so you get that asymmetry when you're wearing it. And I missed that. Sorry about that if I missed a question. Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. And thanks, Lori. Yeah, I hope you guys love it. And so I think that there's a lot of things that I didn't share today that maybe we need a part 2 or something, because there's a lot to put in an hour. But this one configuration here, I'm just going to hold it up for a second. Now that you've seen how this is constructed, can you guys see how easy? I skipped one cord. Let me show you the reverse side. Let's make this a little bigger. I skipped one cord, didn't put beads on it. It was basically the third one. There's beads on all the others. So you get this fan. And that cord that doesn't have beads on it hides itself at the back like that, see? So the front, you just get this little pretty. This one was more involved with stringing. So you're stringing beads on before you're doing like every double half hitch knot. This one took a hot minute to make, but it was a very gorgeous result. And then the drops, quick note about the drops. I started with only 4 cords when I made this one because it really didn't need that many for it to look really cute. So you don't have to start with 6. You can start with 4. Here from the back side, you can see a lot better what's happening there. So just like that. So be sure to try it. If you want to post your gorgeous finished pieces in Gem Chat, I would love to see what you create, and I will cheer you on and share it if you want to tag me. And so I want to wish you a great, happy Seed Bead Saturday. And I was wondering if you guys wouldn't mind checking out my calendar. I updated my calendar on my website, daniellewixjewelry.com. I got a bunch of stuff coming up that I'm really excited about. And so I just kind of listed it all out there of everything that's coming. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll see you for the next one.